Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. Return to the show. I wanted to do this show for like 2 months now, but between our producer getting COVID and a CPL draft coming in the middle, we couldn't have it until right now. So I've got a guest for you here. A lot of you guys might not know who he is, but if you're within cricket, he's a very familiar face for everyone. He's been the coach of two CPL teams, the head coach of two CPL teams before. He's been the coach of Josie Stars in the Mzansi Super League. He works with Essex in England, and he was a Islamabad United bowling coach this year. Everyone say hi to Donnovan Miller. Hey, Don, what's been happening?
Yeah, it's been quite good. Obviously cricket is back now in the UK, and it's the first weekend back, and it's just brilliant. Sitting here for the last few hours watching my son bat and ball, which is really good. No better way to spend a Saturday afternoon. Obviously, speaking
Yeah.
to you is even better.
No, I think getting outside right now might be the best thing that we can possibly do. I mean, that's not a luxury afforded to a lot of us. But
Absolutely.
so wanted to start off by like sort of like your work with Islamabad here, but particularly the thing that I wanted to talk to you about was you're someone who's worked, born and raised up in the West Indies, spent the last 2 decades in England, have worked in the West Indies, South Africa, and now Pakistan. How do you see the culture of coaching and how coachable the players are? Like what's the contrast you see like among different cultures?
I mean, in Pakistan, as I said, I'll start first. I think the players are very, very, very coachable, which is sometimes make your job a little bit easier. Lots of passion, a lot of young players as well want to learn, and those things kind of excite me as a coach. So you could basically just let them be and just come up with new ideas and share things. So really coachable and yeah, I said guys that I enjoy working with. I mean,
And
if
what
you,
about the West Indies and South Africa?
West Indies, a slightly different culture, a little bit more laid back, which a lot of us would say, but really work hard behind the scenes. I think people use the word laid back. Personally, I don't think it's laid back. I think it's just a way of life. So everything is quite relaxed. So it's just the way that you grow up. But these boys kind of work really hard in the scene. South Africa, lot passion, similar to Pakistan. These guys love to train. Whenever you plan like maybe a 3 hour session, you might end up doing six there, and people do come in and have a hits in the morning before and all that stuff. So you might spend a whole day coaching, but the work ethic is second to none. I think South Africa is right up there in terms of hard work.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned the laid back thing. This is not something like when I was initially planning to do the interview back then, like 2 months ago, the world was in a very different place. So I recently
Yeah.
read the piece. I would plug it for everyone to read. It's on the ESPN Cricket Info about the Black Lives Matter movement and the experience of
hmm
black cricketers in the UK, and you contributed to that as well. So, was there something in that you wanted to add to, but like, or like anything that you missed out on?
No, I mean, look, the only thing I would say, I think, listening to Mikey Holding and Ebony Renford Brent interview, and I think Michael did another piece again yesterday, or it was day before yesterday. I think they have kind of hit the nail there, hit the hammer on the nail there. Just I think we just want to be a little bit more, give them a bit more recognition, and know that we can coach as well, and we need opportunities, and that's it really. So we just want to be considered, and
I
that
mean, do you do you find it odd that you've gotten like head coaching gigs in the West Indies and South Africa, but not one in England?
um, it's a little bit different here in England, to be fair, because all the counties, there's not many jobs going in terms of head coach roles. If one do come up, then it's you have a lot of people who is applying from all over the world and in the UK here. So I wouldn't say that I'm a bit disappointed that I didn't get one, but I would just I would say that it would be nice, to be considered as someone who's come through the English system. I would say, like, in terms of coaching badges and learn everything about coaching here, to be recognized that, look, there you have a coach here who can do some of these jobs. So if there's an opportunity arise, then someone like me could be looked at. Not saying I must be given a wood job, because no one deserves to be given anything. So that's the only thing I would say. In terms of,
And
and that's not being
yeah,
selfish. It's just being, yeah.
yeah, and the thing that we were discussing in the afternoon, like you just mentioned the laid back thing, and as you said, it's a sort of a way of life, but like
Mm,
it's almost looked at or almost stereotyped as sort of a negative. And we were discussing this in the afternoon, like not just the language around cricket, but what actions we can make that rather than this just being a moment or this just being a slogan, we can actually proactively change the
mm.
way the game is played. So, as in your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, is not to stereotype. So, you have people who, like to speak. You have some people who are very quiet, extroverted, introverted. So if someone is a little bit quieter, someone moves a little bit slow, it doesn't mean that they are lazy. And then it's your job as a coach to have that skill to know that everyone is different. Just like if you start talking about bowling technique, batting technique, and everyone is different, it's the same way. So once you understand that individual, the person, and you know that this is what make them tick, then it's up to you to kind of get the best out of them and not just label them, or because he doesn't like to hit loads of ball, or he doesn't like to bowl before warm up. Bowl just doesn't. He only wants to bowl when he knows what he's doing. It's their way of doing things, and as long as it works, I think that we have to kind of encourage it.
And one name in particular, like which sort of like comes under that sort of a perspective, someone whom you've worked with a lot, and like a lot of
Hmm.
people. I mean, this is for the audience more than you, but like your claim to fame initially was that Donovan Miller was the guy who got Chris Gale to train hard. So like Chris is that sort of guy, right? Sort of seen
Yeah,
as sort of lazy, that sort of thing. But
yeah,
apparently
yeah.
you've never had that problem.
I mean, I think if you go back and look at, like, Chris' lifestyle, you look at his routine. He's always in the gym. He's always working hard. Now, everyone's different again, and his body is different. He's no spring chicken at the moment. He's been around for a decade now, decades, and I would say now. And again, it's up to you to understand. How do you get the best out of someone like that? Um, I find ways of getting him to come into training, and it's just little skills I use. Like, he's a senior player. He's someone. I think with these senior players and experienced players, as old as they get, and no matter how much cricket they play, they like to feel important, and you have to give them that sense of belief that they're the most important person in the team. And once you can give them that, and it's just simple little things like, I would like you to come to training this afternoon because there's a youngster who bats this way. I want you to look at him and tell me what you think. There's a youngster I
Hmm.
would like you to bat with today. Okay. What are your thoughts on the team tomorrow? I want you to watch how we prepare and think if tell. So these little things, would you like to have a hit? Would you ask question instead of doing that? And if you have that relationship, these guys are respectable guys. They will respect you as a person, and they will feel like they owe you something because you're treating them with respect. That's all it is. If there's a case where you're just a one-dimensional person where this is how you're going to go about it and that's all, then it can be a little bit tricky, and that's where you could find challenges.
I mean, you mentioned like having that respect with the guys. I mean, what I've seen in cricket is a lot of like coaches sort of tend to think of themselves as sort of like in a dictatorial sort of a role where they order their players rather than, yeah, having that back and
Mhm,
forth with them.
mhm.
So like, I mean,
Yeah,
and I'm not talking about just Pakistan. This is like in England or in other places as well. So like, how did you figure out like that's not the way that you were going to go?
yeah, I mean, it takes just you just copy little bits and snippets from here and there. You see how other people work, do things, how maybe a tennis coach may work, maybe a football coach, maybe a rugby coach. And again, it all comes back, and I keep saying this over and over and over. It's all about understanding the people you're dealing with, the characters, and then try and be yourself. Be yourself. Now, I am not saying that at sometimes as a coach, you have to be really strict and say, this is the way we're going to do it, because it's a time for that. But you also have
Mm.
to have the flexibility to say, look, it might not work this way either. So I always have this open mindset about everything goes. It doesn't have to be my way. It could be anyway, as long as it's the team way. Because
Okay.
if you think about it, Hassan, in cricket, no matter how you put it, as a coach, your job is to get result and to win things.
Mm.
Every owner of every team, they wants to win. So you can't make it be about you. You have to make it be about the whole team.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. So,
Mhm.
I mean, we've been talking about BLM and coaching. I mean, let's talk about like some actual cricket, like what we wanted to discuss. Like, so the England West
Yeah,
Indies series is happening right now. It's the match is sort of in balance right now. The first question I
yeah.
wanted to ask you about that was, I mean, when England play the West Indies, whom do you support?
That is a very, 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 very good question. Obviously, being a West Indian and born in the Caribbean, and you always intend to kind of that a little bit of that is in your heart. But being around the England team and being in Essex, it's quite mutual at the moment, because
Mm.
I love Ben Stokes at the moment is slowly becoming more and more my favorite player. It's so it's difficult. So I like to watch Ben Stokes. I just like watching him. But obviously, I support cricket because I also want the West Indies to do well as well. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean doesn't really answer it. That's a good sitting on the fence right there. I was hoping that
Yeah.
to see whether you would fail or pass the Tibet test. But I mean,
No.
is it a little weird to have like I mean, both these teams have a lot of guys that whom you've worked with in the past. So I mean, you talk to me about like working with this England team, particularly prior to last year's World Cup.
Yeah. So prior to last year, I was kind of brought in to kind of help out because I think the openers at that time was well known to be struggled against left armers.
Yeah.
And before that, I did some work with Alistair Cook during the Pakistan tour there. Before with Alistair was struggling again against the ball, swinging him back. So I've been brought in to kind of just throw and help Cookie with one or few things. And I think as I said, Chris Silva would ask me to come and do the same role with the batters, which was quite tricky job to do, because again you have to understand so much things about these guys. You have to understand just simple little things. If he doesn't hold his head up yet, he's not ready, and he won't tell you that he's not ready either. So you have to work out what works. Someone might be batting for a very long time and all he's want is an on drive to finish, and you have to be able to throw that, know when he wants it, and to just deliver it. So those are the things. But yeah, it was more working with the batter, with the left arm stuff. And yeah, I remember when J Roy, I think he got 88 in 88 in one of the games, and the day before we spent a whole session and a tricky wicket which was skiddy and swinging and high pace, everything throwing at him. And then I was glued to my TV because I wasn't at the game there, and when he got that runs, I was like over the moon. I was so pleased. So those things are quite rewarding when that you have helped someone to achieve something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about one of the things that you mentioned in our chat in the afternoon, like sort of like the avatar of all West Indians in England right now might be Jofra. So, I mean, you wanted to talk to me about something that, I mean, he's been getting a little bit of stick the past few months, and
Hmm.
last
Hmm.
night there was even some in typical fashion from Tino Best. And your thoughts on that?
Firstly, I must say, look, if you really go back, these guys hasn't played cricket for months. Okay, before that, Jaffa was slightly of an injury, and he just come off recover from that and haven't played. I think sometimes, we can be a little bit too hard on players. As a coaching staff and a management team, you always pick. There's no wrong or right. You always pick the best team that you think gonna win you a game of cricket. Now
Hmm.
there was a 30-man squad, then it was a 13-man squad. I'm sure there's 17 other players that is disappointed again, and I'm sure every one of those 13 players might think they might gonna play. So there's always gonna be a disappointment. Now, if someone doesn't get it right, it doesn't mean that the person who played would have get it right either. You know,
Yeah.
so it's I am just not a big fan of people jumping on someone's back because they have a okay game, not even a bad game, a okay game. Okay. Now, what happens if Jaffa took a six five in the next innings? Now all the sticks go away. Yeah, but I'm sure Jaffa would know to deal with that because he knows that's what happened in international cricket and as a professional. But also, but one of the thing is, because he's so good as well. That's why he would have get those kind of stick. I did see the tweet you're talking about. And it's a little bit of banter. But as I said, I kind of stay up that fence. I don't really, you know, have anything negative to say about any cricketer.
Yeah, I mean, I think increasingly that seems to be the right
Mm.
way to go on Twitter, because like
Yeah.
it's sort of
Yeah.
becoming a cesspit right there. Anyway, so
Hmm.
like we you were we were mentioning earlier your years at the CPL, and this year you're
Hmm.
not going to be the head coach with St. Lucia. You're going to be the assistant coach with Andy Flower. So you just had the draft like what, 2 weeks ago? So
Yeah.
are you happy with what you came up with, and like, are you looking forward to the CPL this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Andy Flower is someone that I admire a lot as a youngster, as a coach, and what he has done with England and stuff like that, and the way he speaks. He's really a good guy. So, I'm a young coach, even though I had been, well, I would say I have enough experience.
Yeah,
I'm looking
we've
forward
had
to
that
work.
discussion before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to working with Andy, definitely. And also I would say that, yeah, it's a new franchise, a franchise that always, you know, struggle a little bit in CPL.
Hmm.
So it would be excellent if we could turn the screws there and do well for the first time. You
And
know,
how is it going to be with like watching, not watching, playing in Trinidad? I'm assuming in front of an empty stadium on the same pitch on the same ground over and over again. I mean, if you want like tips, we at the PSL can give you them, because we have enough experience of playing on the same ground with like no crowd for years and years.
absolutely. I mean, it's gonna feel different. I mean, as you said, the last game we played before we depart from the PSL, it was no crowd there, and the atmosphere can feel like it's a training environment. But I think because this might be a little bit different, because I think people will be coming in and knowing exactly what to expect it. So I think we're gonna have to find ways of training the guys, to kind of play in that environment. And it's a good thing that there might be a 14-day quarantine, and people will have, because the Caribbean is a tricky place. You could end up being in the Caribbean and think you're on a holiday, because that's what it is. Lovely beaches, lovely food, and everything else that surrounds it. So it's good that it's going to be a lockdown, and it might be motivate the guys to kind of used to being in a bit of silence a bit more, and in that type of environment. Yeah.
And I mean, I was talking
Mhm.
to the guys at the PSL. I mean, they already have that experience of being in in a lockdown, being at the
Yeah.
hotel, out for just training and matches for a month. So I think for
Yeah.
you guys, it might be like it might be easier than someone doing it for the first time.
Absolutely. I think with the this current situation, I think people now has getting used to being indoors. They're getting used to being distant, and they're getting used to their own company. So I don't think it would be so much of an issue. I would like to think, especially for someone like myself, who is, I haven't loved my gym work, and I haven't been able to go to the gym for almost 4 months now. So I think that people would just have to deal with it, and just to know that it's a new way of living, and that's how things is going to be for a time now.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about your gym work. I mean, I found it hilarious that after every training session, if you went to the gym, the Islamabad coaching staff would be there before the players got there.
Yeah, I think Mishba is quite good. He's quite so me and him was in a competition where who can train the hardest. But yeah, he's I think it's a thing that is in you. I just feel like after every training session, look, if it's simple like this. How I see things, if you set standard, people will follow. So if
Mm.
and I'm not saying people have to do this, but as a coach, I think if players see you are someone who's always in the gym, then it will probably encourage them to go to. I just believe that. Hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
especially it's particularly important for young players like coming through, like the emerging category
Yeah.
guys in Pakistan, or I'm assuming all the guys under 10K in the CPL as well, like just getting used
Hmm.
to a truly professional culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, you set as a coach, if you look to set standard, younger players will copy you. They do talk about the coaches in the gym, and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's something I'm big on, and it doesn't mean that players have to go to the gym, but again, it's up to you to look after your own fitness as a professional. Whether you're a gym person or you're someone who likes to run up the ground, whatever it is. But you will, I think, the way sports is going now, fitness is becoming a big part of the legacy, and something that I think that a lot of people are really getting into.
Just to finish off, like a couple of questions, like you mentioned earlier regarding the crowd not being there at the PSL, but you've been at the CPL. We were mentioning like earlier how there's not going to be
Hmm.
crowd there, and we talk about you've been to South Africa as well. I mean, the
Hmm.
crowd experience of all these three different places, and you can add the England stuff as well, are four very different like noises. Essentially, you could say it's very different cultures, very
Yeah,
different ways to
yeah,
express it. So,
yeah,
is there any one in particular that you like, or it's just the thrill of a match that sort of takes
yeah.
everyone along?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've it's gonna be really hard to beat the crowds in Pakistan. It's unbelievable. It's
I would
seriously
have
nice. I know
thought
you
in the
get a bit.
CPL.
Yeah, I mean in Guyana and Trinidad, and when Jamaica is packed out with yellow, then
Hmm.
it's a different noise. But it's like in Pakistan is it's like it's second to none. No one beats that. The people are so passionate, and the crowd loves it so much. It's unbelievable. Mhm. I think
Yeah, I
it's the
mean
best set of fans for me.
that's the thing that I noticed the most. Like I was at
Mm-hmm.
we were mentioning the World Cup earlier. Like I was at the World Cup semi-final last year, like almost
Mm-hmm.
like 12 months to the day back from today, and it
Yeah.
felt it was England and Australia, and it was Birmingham, and it was supposed to be the Barmy Army, and like the World
Mm-hmm.
Cup semi-final. Like it was a huge deal, and it still
Yeah.
felt not as electric as you might say
Yeah.
a Karachi
Yeah.
Lahore game in Karachi.
No, you won't get that in England. It's more of a more, a little bit of socializing. People, I think in England, a lot of people, the crowds more go to the cricket for more of a social. So most of the times, people are not even watching the game until someone hit a six or a four, and it's more of a social with the mates and stuff like that. It can be that atmosphere, which is quite different. Which is in the Caribbean, again, it's more of again not similar kind of a social event. They make more nice to the music sometimes than when someone hit a six, which is in Pakistan, which the difference is everyone is into the cricket, ball by ball, everything. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff that I want to say, but I don't think I can say a lot of that stuff on camera.
Yeah.
But just to finish off, like apart from the Gale thing, and you've worked really well with Chadwick Walton, Andrew Russell, and people like that. A couple of things I wanted to talk to you about. One, like who's experienced, established player that you think is like even greater having worked with them than the public perception of them is. That's the first question, and the second one is you are like considered the foremost scout in the Caribbean game. So like give me like two or three names of guys coming through who you think in like 3 4 years are gonna dominate the world.
Okay, well, you probably know this guy already. I think it's only a matter of time before someone like a Fabian Allen or a Brendan King,
Yeah.
a Brandon King. Those guys are like exceptional. You know,
Hmm.
Fabian, probably one of the best athletes in the world. Bowl left arm spin, very athletic, can feel and can finish a game and bat anywhere.
Yeah.
And a lot of people seen him batting down there at number seven, but he also have like 188 in a first class game. So score which he scored quickly, so he can bat
Hmm.
as well. And so someone like a Fabian, a Brendan King, who is a natural striker of the ball, and a young guy which I rate really highly, Hayden Walsh Jr. So those guys are,
Yeah.
for me, I think, don't be surprised if you see them in the around the world very soon. Okay.
And the
All
first
right.
question
Mm.
regarding like great players being even better after having worked with them.
Hmm. Um, Great. I think Rassi van der Sar from South Africa. He's one of the guys who I kind of rate highly because he has so far taken every opportunity that has been presented itself to him. From playing, franchise cricket for his franchise in South Africa to moving on to every league in the world now to international cricket and done well at all level. I think that he has a really like excited last couple of years. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would have
Hmm.
thought you would have said Andre or Dale, but like I think Rashi will be happy with that.
Yeah. No,
So
Rusty has done well. Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, thank you for coming on, Rock On,
Hmm.
and I hope the CPL goes well for you.
Cheers. Thanks very much, and I appreciate. Thanks for having me. All right. Cheers. Bye.